I got into real estate back in 2005. So I am a shift survivor. Whoop, whoop. I actually consider myself a shift thriver. Real estate in 2005, survived the shift basically by understanding one thing and one thing only, which was that you have to survive to thrive. It was legitimately the only pages of the book of the shift that I read, and went into survival mode, made it through that shift, built a team starting in 2011, and have grown that team ever since. Had a great time up here with Matt Tavener. We grew from myself and Matt to we have 9 agents, myself, Matt, and then 5 support staff one way or another, director of operations, executive assistant, buyer coordinator, listing coordinator, and a client care coordinator. And we've grown over the years, and that's kind of been our journey. We've done it typically and mainly through Bold. Legitimately, I am not only a coach of Bold, I'm 100% a believer in being a student of mindset, a student of Bold, a student of process, a student of journey. That's been probably the hugest thing about me. And Vince, I love your question, what's your superpower? So I decided, as I read that, I was like, oh man, I wish I could say something cool. I definitely can't read minds. One of my favorite scripts, by the way, when setting expectations with buyers and sellers, I always let them know that's one of my favorite scripts. While I'm amazing at finding you the right house or selling your home or whatever that is, I am terrible at mind reading. So if at any point during this process you're unhappy with the relationship that we have going or the process, would you do me a favor and let me know so I can do my best to fix it? There's a little bonus script. So I can't read minds, I can't fly. So my greatest superpower is super. Yes, I am super. I have a really, really good attachment to positivity and a mindset journey. And the power is clarity around the fact that I will never arrive at mastery. And that is, at first it was really daunting, and now it's like the greatest news of my life.
Wow, that is powerful. So essentially super, and then the clarity that you will never arrive at your potential. Is that how you said it?
Yep, that's exactly right. The super fact that every day I can decide to be the best human, and that's completely up to me how I show up in a moment, in a day, in a tragedy, in a crisis, in a party, how I show up, how I choose to show up, that's completely up to me. And then having the clarity around the fact that there's never a time where I can look back and say I was 100% perfect. And having clarity around that, and knowing that all that means is there's always room for growth everywhere you show up. That to me is probably the most magical thing about being on a mindset journey.
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
What would you say, like, so as you built your business with Matt, and I'm going to have a question that isn't on here about Matt, and that partnership, because that is unusual in real estate, right?
So
Um,
unusual, just like us.
exactly. And so what would you say was the most challenging obstacle you've had to overcome as you and Matt kind of built this amazing business?
Yeah, that's an easy one to answer. I very, 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 very transparently, the 2 rhyming words that all people who build teams face: hiring and firing. Greatest challenge is personally for me to be patient enough to trust the actual correct process in hiring. And then ironically, for someone who likes to move so quickly, the pain of needing to move faster in firing. I mean, that old adage, hire slow, fire fast. Like, I wish I had that tattooed in my forearm so that I could look at it, because I am such a D. I'm such a high D personality. I like to get things done quickly. However, I have that magical 99D, 99I personality, and my I just, the empathy and the terror of people not liking me um, causes kind of this awful flood of doing things incredibly incorrectly when it comes to hiring and firing. So that's been the biggest challenge, is hiring and firing.
That makes sense. And it's funny, as you talk to top producers across the industry, 90% of them will say something around a challenge from the standpoint of talent,
Mhm.
finding and hiring and retaining talent. And
And
it's funny,
cultivating talent.
yeah, and cultivating talent. It's always it's almost spot on, without fail. So thank you for sharing that. And let me ask you this: with your partnership being unusual, and as you say, like the two of you,
Yeah.
what was the one thing that was integral in your relationship and in your partnership, so that a partnership in real estate, which again we can all agree is relatively unusual, thrived?
Totally out of model. Totally
Yeah.
out of model. I absolutely would not recommend it at all. I think that, and I'm not saying that it can't be done. I think the one really special thing, you asked for the one word, it is, the word trust doesn't quite measure up to what Matt and I have, and have for some reason organically always had. But it would be akin to finding that soulmate. Like when you look, and please God, don't tell him I said all this. It's going to get his head all big and fluffy and whatnot. Um, it really is. It's like having a soulmate. You think about people who are married 70 years and they're celebrating their 70th wedding anniversary and they're dancing and they're 92 years old or whatever. Um, I have and always have had that level of trust with Matt, and I do think that it comes from a very special set of ingredients, uh, that that I think it's like winning the lottery. I don't think that those things come upon us very often. So I'm grateful that all the stuff came together to make it happen, yet I'm very clear in understanding that it is wicked out of model. In fact, many of you know and respect, or knew and respect, Mike Tavener, who helped start this region. Um, and I don't know that Matt had ever made a business decision without him. Who wouldn't? If Mike Tavener was my dad, I'd ask him everything as well. However, when we wrote up this business model and said, hey, we're going to go lightly out of MREA model, what do you think? He was like, no, you're idiots. Not only is this not going to work business wise, you're going to destroy your friendship. Don't do it. And for the first time, I think in Matt's life, he went. We took some of his dad's advice, and that we didn't make it permanent for a while. We did about a 9-month trial. Yet he moved forward without it, and I really do think that it is absolute 100% implicit trust. I've never doubted for a moment that Matt was doing everything he could to be an equal business partner, and I believe he feels the same.
Wow, that is awesome. That made me think of a book by Patrick Lencioni called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And the number one dysfunction is a lack of trust.
You got it.
Um, and I love what you were saying. I want to transition to kind of understanding your mindset around these crazy times, right? And the question that I had sent over to you were, what are the steps that you've taken to lead your team and your clients through this uncertainty? And then what changes are you making in your business to kind of reinvent the level of service that you provide?
What we focused on from the very beginning with both our team and our clients is the word normalcy. Not new normal, forget that, just normalcy. So one of the questions that I ask coaching clients is, tell me effectively, like truly, and know that I'm going to use the, is that true? Is that 100% true? Is that 100% true 100% of the time? Like, I want people to answer these questions from ownership, not from victim, not from what's happening in the world around me, from ownership of your business. Honestly, what's different from March 1st to today? When it comes to our job and how we perform as professionals who own businesses, what's really different? Because we all know from the Shift book, I got the special edition there. What we know from the Shift book, from Bold, from everything we've been learning, is that we've got 5 jobs to do every day. We lead generate, we lead follow up, we go on appointments, we negotiate contracts, and we script practice and role play. Things are different. It looks different, yet the same applications are true. It's about going back to that normalcy and finding that. So really, that's what we've been talking through, is not putting a Band-Aid over it and saying nothing's different, everything's the same. Yet when it comes to our fundamentals and our basics, how do we bring a sense of normalcy and consistency to the way our world exists right now? So we've been focusing on that, which is why I've talked a lot about, this word has just come up a million times over, framework.
Framework.
Framework, framework, framework.
So when you say framework, do you, and you talked about normalcy, do you mean kind of going back to the basics, like the simplicity of the business, and then elaborate on what you mean by framework?
Yeah, sure. And I know it seems it's and I'll be totally honest, when I go to classes and I hear things like back to the basics, back to the yeah, thanks. Okay, no, I don't wanna. I get it, right? I totally understand that. I am also human, and I don't wanna either. So this is why framework is so important. When you are figuring out normalcy in your business and you're figuring out normalcy in this new environment, because we're all, look around you, you're home, you are in a new home environment, and I get that. So what we've got to do is we've got to figure out how to bring the normalcy to the basics that we know are going to help keep moving us forward, and we've got to apply foundation and function to that. So that's why every single day we've got to assess, just like this crisis, there's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end of it. Every single day we have to understand what we can control, which is deciding the beginning, the middle, and the end of our day. I'm talking consistently about having a normal morning. Gary Keller talked about every single morning, his alarm goes off. He gets up, he takes the dog out to pee, he pours his coffee, he sits down and watches the news and reads the newspaper. He then goes and he changes into his workout clothes. He works out in his home workout room. He goes and takes a shower, he puts on his big boy pants, and he goes to work. Does work look different? Sure. Is work different? No. That's his normal. So that's how he builds the foundation of his day. And that's exactly what I'm talking to our team about, which is build your normal for the day. Start your day out remotely the same way every single day. For me, I'm not like Gary Keller. I do things a little bit differently. Might somehow have a difference in our income streams. However, I am me, so I do mine. You are you, you will do yours. My day is I wake up, I open the blinds, I use the restroom. I think Gary might have left that out because he's a bit smarter than I am when it comes to speaking to large groups. Then I come out of my room, I go straight to my bold journal, I write down the 5 things I'm grateful for, I detail out my day, the framework of my day, what's it going to include, because yes, I get it. Days are different, things are changing, yet there's still a framework and it's still my decision. After I've decided that, I go feed my cats, pour my coffee, sit down and read my shift book, and then I have 8:30 script practice, 8:45 team Zoom huddle, and I get to it. That's my beginning every single day. That's my normalcy.
Yeah, and what you're saying and what I'm hearing is you've, although it may look different, but you've adapted it so that you could keep it as your normalcy. You just adapted your environment. You adapted the normal day to day and just made it possible so that you can keep moving forward.
That's it. We've got to keep moving. The number one response, human response to any kind of chaos, tragedy, it's fear. It's fear of the unknown and fear of the future. And right now, our future is very unknown. So the best way and easiest way to combat fear is to get into motion.
Yep.
And if you create motion in your world that is solid, foundational, and consistent, then you're going to bring yourself some peace, because chaos is a really tough thing to deal with, and it's all around us right now. We've just got to figure out how we are going to breathe it in. I'm not telling you that this is all beautiful for me. I get it. I have more than ever in the last 10 years, I've been on a mindset journey the last 6 weeks. This is tough for me. Those of you who know me know I'm an incredibly social, movie aroundy, doey human being. So staying in my house and being in front of a screen as much as I have has been it's been an opportunity that I've had to be conscious about choosing to find myself within that journey.
That is so cool. And I heard what you said was everything works and nothing doesn't, right?
Yes.
And I think it's so important to understand.
You've got to find, at the very least, start this week by finding your consistent beginning, decide what it looks like for you, make sure there's joy within it, and then have yourself a start time and an end time. Very
That's
cool.
awesome. What's one piece of advice that you would leave the group with in these challenging times, or in these times of opportunity rather? What's that one piece of advice that you would leave everybody with?
Well, you said it right there, Vince. I want you all to understand that opportunity is a given, right? There, we all know whether you're a student of mindset or not, you've heard one way or another, either in a book you read or an Oprah special you watched or someone mentored you, you know that opportunity is a given. Whether or not you choose it, seize it, look for it, find it. That's really up to you. So when it comes to finding an opportunity within a challenge like this, I want you all to think the biggest piece of advice that I have is how often are you thinking about that? When this is all said and done, because there is a beginning to this, we're in the middle, there will be an end. When it's done, how will you look back? What will happen when you look back on this time? What will you say? How will you say you showed up for your clients, for your family? More importantly, though, how will you say you showed up for your future self, for the you that you are becoming? Did you sit around and fight for excuses, or did you get up and fight for your potential? Because whether you believe it or not, you're conditioning yourself and your future behaviors every moment of every day. If you're having that in by default, then you don't know what you're going to end up with at the end of this 60, 90, 120 days. You don't know. You're leaving it up to circumstance. If instead you are purposeful and intentional about having an awareness around it, not even being close to perfect, just having an awareness. And does that awareness serve you? Man, there's where the opportunity is. My favorite quote from the Shift book, and then I'll shut up. My favorite quote from this book is, "This is our opportunity to shed the bad habits of a good market and adopt the good habits of a bad market." That's what we have in front of us.
Super powerful. Super powerful.
What are you gonna choose? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that is awesome. And are you fighting for your potential? That was an awesome little blurb there as well. So let me ask this before we open it up: how can people find you, and how can we help you?
Awesome. I love this question. So I'm easy to find. We are the only mattandmollyteam.com anywhere. And it's easy to remember because it was that really great, entertaining show was the Mike and Molly team. And Matt goes by Matt or Mike, so it doesn't matter. So you can find us. I'll put my email address here in the chat thread. And it's really easy. It's just Molly with a Y at themattandmollyteam.com. You can email me there with any questions you have, any concerns, and you just want to chat, you want the link to something, you want to send me a referral for Asheville and the surrounding area. Any of those things are great uses of my email address. And then what you can do for me today, honestly, is if this group of people, let's see, we've got 40 people on here, if this group of people would take what I said and really, really move forward with it and create yourself a framework for May, we have a huge opportunity. And I promise those of you who know me can nod your heads when you know that I'm not a salesperson. I am passionate, though, about growth and about giving yourself a framework for that growth. You know, please do not mistake this passion for selling anything. However, there's a huge opportunity right now in Bold Pivot. I believe in Bold Pivot. I know it's going to be incredible. It's going to be every Tuesday and Thursday of May with 2 hours of content. It's going to be every Wednesday and Friday of May with 2 hours of Coach's Corner direct coaching conversation. And then 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day except Sunday, a private Facebook group where 49 coaches are monitoring, answering questions, talk about framework. We always know that distraction causes failure, right? There is not going to be anything more distracting than May. I promise you. We are going to have, you think that March was distracting by wondering, oh, what's next? What's next? No, things moved quickly. In May, things are going to be happening at different paces all around you. And we're going to have the opportunity to figure out how to manage that. If you can find yourself a framework, even if it's only between 2 and 4 on every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that will give you something to go through. So the best way to register for Bold Pivot is just to go to mapscoaching.com, mapscoaching.com. The first thing you'll see is the Bold Pivot banner. Click on it. That's going to bring up a page of frequently asked questions, the timing. It answers all your questions. It's $99 for the entire month of May, and it is open to absolutely everyone, regardless of your real estate affiliation.
Yes.